What up, everybody? How's everybody doing? What up, Ray? So how's everybody doing this fine Monday evening? I've had a long day myself. Long week, actually. Big shout out to everybody who, sent prayers and, positive vibes. So my wife had her, so I don't know if I said exactly, but she had breast cancer and ovarian cancer. So last week she had a hysterectomy and a mastectomy, double mastectomy. And she is doing well. She's here at home. Can't get her to sit down. She won't listen. But she's healing up really fast and really strong. So we are grateful for all of your prayers and thoughts and everything. So today we go over, take a deep dive into my world. This is also, honestly, like every time I do one of these, I say this is one of my favorites on the album. And I'm not lying. This is probably one of my, I really like all of my songs, but this album is super special to me, and it's super special to a lot of people, which I have, really discovered doing this. People have been tuning in. We've been doing this for about 2 months now, and cats are still tuning in, and it's been probably one of my most viewed series throughout me doing beats and B-sides. So I really appreciate the support. Appreciate everybody who purchased the vinyl. If you didn't see my video that I posted on Instagram and Facebook and everywhere else, I'm doing my best to get all of the orders out. About 95% of all the pre-orders were sent out. And I was having some issues with some international joints, but I'm going to do my best to get the rest of the orders out this week. And hopefully I can. If not, the next week or so. I just started a new job today, which is awesome, as well as me taking care of my wife and things. So it's been pretty hectic, you know what I mean? But I will get everything out to all of you guys. If you've ordered with me before, this isn't normal. This isn't a normal practice. It's just been a hell of a month or so. But we are diving into my world, and this joint is super special because this is one of those joints where I'm kind of really diving into my mindset, as well as my mindset as a human being, as well as my mindset as an MC, and really trying to give some insight to me as a person and just how I think. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Steven? So I really want to break this one down and kind of talk about a little bit of the rhymes as well. And I did ask everyone, because this is going to be winding down. Next week we'll do I Wish You Would Make Me, and I'll also touch on verbiage and say the word in that episode as well. Just lightly on those two. And I may do a deep on verbiage, I'm not sure yet. But yeah, so we're winding down. I appreciate everybody that's been on the journey so far. I hope this is something that you appreciate. I hope this is something that you enjoyed checking out. I do see some of the same cats that show up in the stream every week. So it's greatly appreciated that you guys are enjoying this. Also, as I said, going towards the end of this, I will be going straight to YouTube directly. So, yeah. If you have been checking me out on Twitter or Twitch or Facebook, I will be going directly to YouTube going forward. And, if you haven't subscribed to the page, subscribe to the page. Let's see. Steven, what up, Coop? Steven asked, what do I use to stream? I actually use Restream. It's a streaming software that lets you multi-stream to different platforms. It's fairly inexpensive. They do have a free version, but it shows a watermark when you're streaming. So the paid version, I think I pay like $16 a month or $19 a month or something like that. But that's the software that I use, as well as OBS, which is a free software. And I use my Canon T3i for visuals, and Canon zoom lens, 10 to 18 millimeter zoom lens. And then I got, lights and all that stuff. So that's really my setup. It's not a lot. But yeah, so getting into my world, we are going to break this joint down. And the thing about my world, this beat that Print gave me, really one of my favorite beats of his, and really allowed me to stretch a little bit. It's one of the slower joints on there, on the record, and just had a great eerie sound and feeling. And I actually didn't write to the beat. I actually wrote these verses separate from the beat, and with a lot of these songs for Celestial, a lot of them weren't written to the actual beats. A lot of them were joints that I wrote, and I would recite the beat or the lyrics to Print, and he would make something or go through some joints and we'd find something, but for the most part he made most of it from scratch. Word, Fire Theft just got his Celestial vinyl, so dope. Yeah, man, I'm hoping to collaborate with Aesop in the future, as well as Blockhead. We have talked. Me and Blockhead have talked about possibly, doing another record, maybe an EP, just, to do something following up Capture the Sun, that whole series, because, we enjoy working together, and we work well together. Hopefully, I can get something with Aesop in the future. I haven't really talked to him about it, but I would definitely like to get him on something. But yeah. Word, Steven. Yeah, so if you got any other questions, you can hit me up in my DMs or my email address. And if you have any other questions about streaming, we can discuss further. But yeah, so we're gonna dive into my world, man, and I'm trying not to be in front of you guys too long. I try to keep these under an hour. Just to, not be in front of y'all for 2-3 hours, you know what I'm saying? But once I do get done with doing the deep dives, I do have a couple interviews in the chamber. The following next week, I will be have a 5-spot interview with Mr. Alaska, Adam's fam. Also, Human Zoo. He just put out his record Human Zoo a couple months ago, which is a really dope record. So I got an interview with him. Also have an interview with my homie. We go way back, Mr. Jeez, I went blank. Rob Sonic. Jeez. Went super blank. Interview with Rob Sonic. If you haven't checked his new record out, Latrinalia, you should check it out. It's really dope. Really, really, really dope. One of the best records this year, I think. And also, I got a joint with my man RJD2 that I got in the crates. So, you know what I'm saying? I got a couple interviews and more to come, as well as trying to get some more content, you know what I'm saying, for you guys. I did talk to you about doing deep dives into other people's songs that I dug and appreciated, and breaking those down and how they influenced me. So yeah, you know, I'm jumping all over the place, you know what I'm saying. So yeah, so we're gonna dive into my world and break this joint down. So let's do it how we do it, you know what I'm saying. Start out with verse 1. Here we go. I'm traveling this maze with a javelin, taking aim at abdomen, stumbling as I guilt trip from pixie dust particles laced with the American way of conformity. I lash out in defense of culture to stimulate dormancy, but I'll rest for a second and build on my mass collection. Ask questions of worth since birth, compiled images styled by each lesson, cursed with illogical thinking and eyes of society. Crash parties of orthodox without the ignorant inviting me. The path I'm destined to walk is widening, but narrow to the closed-minded. Hidden by brush and greenery I can't see, but my flows find it. Blinded as I step through this forest of activists, dodging thorns of the norm. Decoding life's punier form, disguised as a pacifist. After this confrontation with the beast of regret, attaining existence is the result of taking a breath, so I hold back and don't inhale. To see where life takes me, elevate flesh to a level of stress, cause I believe life hates me. So dark, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so that's first verse. So let's break it down. Turn this down a little bit. Yeah, so first verse, I'm traveling this maze with a javelin. So I'm basically just talking about life, you know what I'm saying? Traveling through life, and, you know, wielding my weapon, which is, you know, my words, my thoughts, my heart. Taking aim at abdomens, taking aim at other people's hearts with my lyrics. You know, taking aim at abdomen, stumbling as I guilt trip from pixie dust particles laced with the American way of conformity. So let me give you a little background on this. And, you know, a lot of you that have been with me for the last few weeks, you know, I had a lot of guilt about, you know, just living and life, and, you know, I had a lot of dark issues about how, you know, I was treated during my life, if it was fair, if it was not fair, you know. So that's the, you know, stumbling as I guilt trip from pixie dust particles laced with the American way of conformity. It's pretty self-explanatory. I lash out in defense of culture to stimulate dormancy, but I'll rest for a second and build on my mass collection. So basically, I'm talking in this first verse really about, you know, my MC skills and my MC growth, and, you know, building on my mass collection, building on, you know, the different ways that I'm gonna present myself as an MC, and also, you know, on the flip side, as a person, because I think a lot of times, especially when I was coming up and when I was going through a lot of the depression and stuff that I was going through during this time, I had, you know, different faces I would show different people. I wasn't, you know, because I had, you know, some substance, you know, dependence. You know, I was a super heavy weed head. I was, you know, pills. I had, you know, depression. I had a lot of things going on, but I couldn't show those sides all the time. And, you know, especially with my family really didn't know exactly what was going on. Family didn't really know how I was feeling, you know, inside. What up, Jason? Daniel, what up? African Kodo, what up? I think, yeah, that says African Kodo. What up, what up, what up? Penmanship is elite. I appreciate that. But yeah, I had to, you know, so during this time of building my mass collection, and really trying to figure out how I was going to show myself to the different sides of, my life and the people in my life, I was trying to do my best also taking aim at, whack MCs and the industry and the culture of hip hop, from, trying to shield them and redirect them from the American way of conformity, the American way of just doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, just, just to fit in. So the American way of conformity, I lash out in defense of culture to stimulate dormancy, but I'll rest for a second and build on my mass collection. Ask questions of worth. So this goes back to the depression. Ask questions of worth since birth, compiled images styled by each lesson. So compiled thoughts, compiled ideas about my life, dealing with each lesson that I, encountered and learned in my life. You know what I'm saying? So ask questions of worth since birth, compiled images styled by each lesson, cursed with illogical thinking in the eyes of society. Crash parties of orthodox without the ignorant invited me. So, sometimes when you think different, when you're not, conforming to the way that everyone else wants you to think, when you're not conforming to the way that people think that you should go, sometimes it's seen as a curse because you're a standout. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, if you were down with the underground early on, as I talked about before, we were kind of seen as the redheaded stepchilds. We were, looked down upon, backpack rap, underground rap. Nobody listens to that. Nobody want to hear that bullshit Sharif kind of attitude. But we didn't care, you know what I'm saying? Because we knew that our fans, you guys who support us and listen to our music, knew we had something to say and wanted to hear what we had to say. You know what I'm saying? So, cursed with illogical thinking in the eyes of society. Crash parties of the orthodox, crash parties of the regular, without the ignorant invited me. The path I'm destined to walk is widening, but narrow to the closed-minded. Hidden bright brush and greenery I can't see, but my flows find it. One of the things my mom always told me is, and it's a Bible verse, is that, your gifts will make room for you before great men. And so that was kind of what I was referencing in this, the path I'm destined to walk is widening, but narrow to the closed-minded. Hidden by brush and greenery I can't see, but my flows find it. So my gift of being an MC at this time and, still to this day, has made room for me in certain areas of my life, has made, put me in front of certain people, have, allowed certain financial opportunities, has allowed me to just have a space where I can express myself and really be me. You know what I mean? So the path I'm destined to walk is widening, but never to the closed-minded. Hidden by brush and greenery I can't see, but my flows find it. Blinded as I step through this forest of activists, dodging thorns of the norm, decoding life's cuneiform, disguised as a pacifist. So I'm a real laid-back dude. You know what I'm saying? I'm a super, super laid-back dude. And hey Juno, what up? I'm a super laid-back dude, and stepping through this forest of activists, dodging thorns of the norm. So I'm stepping through this life, I'm stepping through this world, as an MC and as a regular person, just trying to, stay afloat, dealing with my own issues, but also trying to stand out and be an individual at the same time. And at the same time, decoding this crazy puzzle of life that I have in front of me that, at this point in my life, I felt had been unfair, that I felt that I didn't completely understand. Going through this stuff disguised as a pacifist, because like I said, I'm real laid back. I'm real, I'm not a confrontational person until I have to be. And I just kind of move and make sure that, me and mine are taken care of, and anyone I can help, I do help along the way. But at the same time, that pacification is a disguise, and it allows me to protect myself in some ways. The next, after that, after this confrontation with the beast of regret, a tainted existence is the result of taking a breath. So this goes back to the live to die situation. after confronting my life, and a lot of this album was really me confronting my life and confronting feelings. My first two albums, the first album was, a little fun, and there was a little glimpse of that confrontation of, the darkness in my life on Hate in the Puddle. And I kind of expanded that into different, ideals and situations and lessons that I've learned in my life on Celestial. But confronting, the beast of regret, the beast of continuing to, kind of move along in this life where I felt that I wasn't appreciated and wasn't wanted. But after this confrontation with the beast of regret, a tainted existence is the result of taking a breath. So I hold back and don't inhale to see where life takes me. This is, kind of a subtle, look at, having that thought of, should I take myself out? Should I still be here? You know what I'm saying? So I hold back and don't inhale to see where life takes me. Elevate flesh to a level of stress because I believe life hates me. So I really, at this time, thought that, I didn't mean much to people, just because, again, like how I was treated and how my life had gone, up to these 17, 18, 19 years when I was writing this stuff. So that's the first verse. But overall, I think this song kind of gives a backdrop of, my life and a backdrop of kind of everything that I was feeling as far as me as an MC. Feeling like I was dope, feeling like I was gonna do something that, kind of led people in a different way. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of led people to a promised land, so to speak. But at the same time, dealing with my own demons, dealing with my own way that I viewed myself. And it was almost kind of a weird dichotomy, like how, looking back on it, how in the world can someone who is not feeling that they're worth it really feel like they can change things? And that's really why writing this album was kind of a catharsis for me, kind of an awakening to, get these feelings out, get these emotions out, but at the same time make some changes, make some pivots, in order to be a voice for the voiceless, in order to be a leader in whatever way that I could. I wasn't necessarily trying to be, this activist, and I wasn't trying to be Immortal Technique. I wasn't trying to be Talib Kweli. I wasn't trying to do that, but I was trying to be a leader in my own way and kind of give a voice to those, little weirdos like me, that got teased, that got bullied when they were younger, that didn't really understand their place in the world. And I started to realize that a lot more after I finished this record. So, yeah, moving on to verse 2. Now, also something that I realized when going over this song, and really a lot of songs on this album, this is where I really started to experiment with song structure, not really caring about, 16 here, verse here, 8-bar hook, back to 16, 8-bar hook, out. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't really care about that. Looking at verse 2 here, verse 2 is actually, I believe, 24 bars. Verse 1 is 16 bars. Verse 2 is a crazy 24. And it just kind of makes the song a little weird as far as structure goes, as well as, kind of unbalancing it a little bit. And I kind of did that on purpose because, and it's kind of a symbol of what I was viewing as my life a little as being unbalanced. You know what I'm saying? And I purposefully made the second verse unbalanced. It's a lot of little nuances. And this is for all artists. It's a lot of little nuances, a lot of little things, a lot of thought that goes into a lot of the songs that we do, a lot of the work that we do. And, some things you would never know, some things you would never understand what our thought process was if we didn't explain it. Like, nobody would ever understand that, oh, the second verse is longer. They would just think the second verse is longer, but there's actually a reason behind that, that the second verse is longer, because I felt my world was unbalanced, so I made the song unbalanced on purpose. And you would never know that, you know what I'm saying? So that's why stuff like this is really cool. I wish other artists would, do something similar, but they be still in my lane, you know what I mean? So I thought that was a cool little tidbit, you know what I'm saying, of info. So yeah, let's move into this second verse and break that one down. So here we go. Thoughts dive in a sea of normlessness and abandon crowds that stand around and wait for their performances. I wait in that cul-de-sac to see what karma gives, cause what goes around comes around, holds weight in the lake I'm born to swim. Will I drown due to the obesity of my thought process as gravity pulls down to impede my self-conquest? Filling my pockets with payments of nonsense, while the cover charge to this play of my life is time spent. At times I stand on the edge of this cliff and forget rap before I step across that threshold where rhyme bends and splits at. I try to evade the barricades and downplay the mishaps, convincing myself that the speech isn't related to the syntax. My emotional famine is at an all-time height, where I'm forced to rationalize between comfort and what's right, but when I write, I'm comfortable. Pen encompasses the agony of the turmoil-drenched existence of this Shakespearean tragedy. Does this hero die due to his flaws, or will I float in purgatory state before I take the fall? So for now I walk waiting, trudging through knee-high Satan, contemplating whether I should stay on this frequency or change the station, cause now I'm tuned in to ruin, falling flat on my abstract, too intimidated to press on but not depressed enough to backtrack. The story too horrific to be laughed at, too surreal to be realistic, dangling between an individual and a statistic. Will I see the light at the end of the tunnel, or has there been an avalanche to close off the outlet, snuffing the option of if I'll have a chance to escape this fate? Or is it by choice I walk this road, wide yet enclosed, continuing to progress but feel froze? So yeah, that's the second verse. The second verse is pretty hot. You know what I'm saying? pretty dope. What up, Cool Hand Luke? Yeah, man, check out the previous. They're all on my YouTube page. I go through the whole album from beginning to end, and do a session per song. So yeah, check it out, man. I hope you dig it, and subscribe to the YouTube page. But yeah, so let's go through this verse. This verse, of course, is a little longer. And it's always funny to read, like when you go on Genius and you read, what people interpret your lyrics as. Sometimes they're right, other times they're way off, and I just find it very, very interesting. But yeah, so second verse. So second verse, let's start out from the beginning. Thoughts dive in a sea of normlessness. So if you know what, a lot of people mistake that line when I say formlessness instead of normlessness. And I use the word normlessness because, by definition, the word normlessness. Let me see, I'm pulling the definition up right now. So, normlessness is just, being out of the norm. You know what I'm saying? Like not being normal, basically. Normal is an expectation of the world. Normal is an expectation of society. And I was looking to, be outside of that. So thoughts dive in a sea of normlessness and abandon crowds that stand around and wait for their performances. So I always felt like, I always had a struggle with, being a performer, especially for people that I felt didn't appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? And, I always felt like I was a dancing clown in some way sometimes, you know what I'm saying? And it was hard, because I knew what my lyrics meant. I knew what I was trying to get across. But usually when you tell people you're a rapper, first thing they think of, oh, like Jay-Z, like, Biggie Smalls, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you have to explain to them, like, no, I don't talk about that kind of things. I talk about other kind of things. And it's, sometimes the impression that people get when you tell them that you're a rapper. That's why I try not to let people know, even when at work, when I start new jobs, or it's very few people that know I rap, just because I don't want them to start looking at me a certain way. But thoughts dive in a sea of normlessness and abandon crowds that stand around and wait for their performances. I wait in that cul-de-sac to see what karma gives, cause what goes around comes around, holds weight in a lake I'm born to swim. So if you know what a cul-de-sac is, it's like a dead-end street where it's kind of rounded and there's no outlet. And with life, there's really no outlet until you die. And during life, when you're dealing with things, it's kind of a roundabout. It's kind of, whatever you put out into the world, it comes back to you. You know what I'm saying? So I stand in that cul-de-sac and wait. I wait in that cul-de-sac to see what karma gives, because what goes around comes around, holds weight in the lake I'm born to swim. So I'm always a big proponent of what goes around comes around. I'm always a huge proponent of karma. I talk to my sons about this. You want to make sure that you put positive things out into the world, that you put a positive impression on people, that you present yourself in a positive light, and you do things that are good and positive in the world as much as you can, because if not, those things can come back to you. If you treat people wrong, it's the golden rule, right? You know what I'm saying? Treat people how you want to be treated, or else, when you get that treatment back, you're not going to like it. So, in my life, in my journey, it holds a lot of weight as far as treat people how you want to be treated. So I've always been, a pretty approachable, nice dude, until someone puts me in a position where where I'm not, basically. So what goes around comes around, holds weight in the lake I'm born to swim. And this goes into the, a little bit more of the darkness, a little bit more of the depression. You know what I'm saying? Will I drown due to the obesity? Will I drown due to the obesity of my thought process? So will I be able to survive thinking the way that I'm thinking in life? Because a lot of people that were free thinkers and that thought outside of the box didn't really make it. You know what I'm saying? They were either shunned, they were either exiled from society in some ways, or assassinated or killed. So, just thinking about those kind of things. So will I drown due to the obesity of my thought process as gravity pulls down to impede my self-conquest? Filling my pockets with payments of nonsense, while the cover charge to this play of my life is time spent. So I always, if you listen to my music at all, there's a lot of themes that are reoccurring in my music. And it's like that with a lot of artists. I always, like my song Screenplay from Got Lyrics was really just talking about how, God is basically, sitting on his throne, you know what I'm saying, kind of watching all these screenplays play out, watching all these people's lives play out. And it's kind of like different little movies, that are being watched. And, God got his popcorn, checking us out and seeing what, happens next. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I always, thought about life as, like this play where, it's kind of already written, because I believe in fate, but I also believe in choice. So it's a hard thing to wrap my head around sometimes, that fate and choice are, that they exist simultaneously. But yeah, like it's always one of the themes that is reoccurring in my music, as far as like screenplays and thinking that life is a play and life is something that, we're kind of actors in this movie that, spirits and angels and God are watching and kind of seeing how it plays out. So filling my pockets with payments and nonsense, while the cover charge to this play of my life is time spent. At times I stand on the edge of this cliff and forget rap before I step across that threshold where rhyme bends and splits at. So in my career, And if you talk to my friends, they'll tell you this. Talk to my close friends. There's been so many times I've been like, I'm gonna retire. You know what I'm saying? Like, I quit. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing this. What up, Unicron? I'm not doing this anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's no use. It's, people not listening. They don't care. Blah, blah, blah. Me giving myself a pity party, right? But then, I write the next verse and I'm excited. I do the next song. I do the next album. I'm excited again. So, that's where that is. At times I stand on the edge of this cliff and forget rap before I step across that threshold where rhyme bends and splits at. So once I step into that new arena of a new rhyme, I just stopped telling myself I was going to retire and just, because I think I'll always be an MC. I'll always write rhymes. Now that I'm a producer, I'll always make beats. And, whether I put them out or not is a different story. One day, I might just stop. You know what I'm saying? One day, one album, I'll do an album and it may be my last. You know what I'm saying? And people may not hear, I may not announce like, oh, this is my final record, but I don't think I'll ever put out a final record until I'm no longer here. I think I'll always continue to put music out. But, the scale at which I do it definitely will change. But yeah, before rhymes, bends, and splits, I try to evade the barricades and downplay the mishaps, convincing myself that the speech isn't related to the syntax. So when I go through my life, when I go through my rhymes, when I go through any experiences that I have as an MC, trying to evade the barricades, trying to, dodge the thorns, trying to maneuver through life and still make it and still say sane, I always just in regular life, not in my music though, but in regular life, I don't really talk about how some things are affecting me. You know what I'm saying? I'm a pretty quiet dude. The only person I really talk to that probably knows everything about me, every secret about me, is my wife. And convincing myself that the speech isn't related to the syntax, trying to convince myself that what's actually coming out, what's actually happening in my life isn't related to, how I was built, that I'm making some choices and, I need to make better choices in order for my life to be better. You know what I'm saying? And that leads into the next line. My emotional famine is at an all-time height. At this time in my life, I was drained. You know what I'm saying? I was emotionally drained. And getting these thoughts, getting these ideas out, through this record was kind of, again, my catharsis. It kind of woke me up and gave me a want to move forward, a want to continue, a want to keep going, because I have a gift where if I'm being weighed down by something, as long as I can write about it, and give it away and express it to someone else and show someone else that, yeah, I'm going through this. And the fact that you guys as fans a lot of times say, I appreciate, what you said on this song. I was going through the same thing, that gives comfort to me as well. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes, especially when I'm in deep, when I was in deep in my depression, sometimes I even felt like I was the only one. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I felt like there was nobody else going through any of this stuff but me. And so when you guys reach out and say, this had a big impact on my life for this reason, for that reason, that's why I continue to do this, because it helps me out as well. So my emotional famine is at an all-time height where I'm forced to rationalize between comfort and what's right, but when I write, I'm comfortable. I mean, that says a lot. You know what I'm saying? Throughout my life, especially being raised as a Christian, and studying other, religions as well, I was always, struggling with being comfortable but doing the right thing. And as we go into the song that's playing now, I Wish You Would Make Me, that was one of my biggest struggles. Is like, it always feels so much easier to just do whatever, even if it's wrong. It always feels easier that way, and a lot of times it feels very difficult to do what's right sometimes. So that was always a struggle. But when I write, I'm in my comfort zone, and usually that joins the two of being comfortable and doing what's right, and that's where I felt safe, as a writer. When I was writing, I felt safe. But when I write, I'm comfortable. Pen encompasses the agony of the turmoil-drenched existence of this Shakespearean tragedy. Does this hero die due to his flaws? So when I write, I'm comfortable, and saying that my pen encompasses the agony of the turmoil-drenched existence of this Shakespearean tragedy. So my pen is the thing that I use to, all of this anger, all of this depression, all of this darkness being bottled up inside of you is not good. Even if you're not an MC, if you're not a writer, it's always good to write your thoughts down and get your thoughts out, get them out so they won't continue to be a darkness inside of you. When you get them out, a lot of times it lightens your load a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm expressing in this. When I write, I'm comfortable. Pen encompasses the agony of the turmoil-drenched existence of the Shakespearean tragedy. Does this hero die due to his flaws, or will I float in purgatory state before I take the fall? So this goes back into, my Christianity and, kind of my not understanding and not knowing where my destiny lied, especially after death if I went there. So, or does this hero die due to his flaws, or will I float in purgatory state before I take the fall? So for now I walk waiting, trudging through knee-high Satan, contemplating whether I should stay on this frequency or change the station. I'm walking through this world where everything is dark, all this shit is happening. And during this time, it didn't seem as bad as it is now, but it was, looking back. Like there was a lot of shit going on in the world. And it just felt like a lot of darkness, and I felt dark anyway, so it was just kind of crazy, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of times I was wondering if I'm going the right way, if I'm walking the right path, or should I walk another path? That's where the, contemplating whether I should stay on this frequency or change the station, because I felt, because now I'm tuned into ruin. I felt like I was tuned into something that was wrong because I was in this depression, because I was, dealing with all this craziness, because I didn't feel like I was worth anything, all of that stuff. I felt like, should I stay on this frequency or change the station? Should I do something crazy? Should I completely go a different path, because the path that I'm on right now, it's not feeling great. You know what I'm saying? So, because now I'm tuned into ruin, falling flat on my abstract, too intimidated to press on. So I was a little scared to move forward in my life because I didn't want to repeat the same shit that I had dealt with in the past, which is why, I say, too intimidated to press on, but not depressed enough to backtrack. I didn't want to go back. I wasn't that dark to where it's like, going forward is so bad. I'd rather go back. Going back was a place that I didn't want to be either, but I was scared of going forward, but I eventually did. So too intimidated to press on, but not depressed enough to backtrack. The story too horrific to be laughed at, too surreal to be realistic, dangling between an individual and a statistic. As an African-American man, there are so many things that pull on you, to do when you're in a darkened state, when you're dealing with money issues, when you're dealing with financial things, when you're dealing with family, when you're dealing with a lot of things. Like, it's hard sometimes not to fit those stereotypes and become what they think you're going to become. It's very difficult. So dangling between an individual and a statistic. Will I see the light at the end of the tunnel? Or has there been an avalanche to close off the outlet, snuffing the option of if I'll have a chance to escape this fate? Or is it by choice I walk this road? So that was one of those things that I had to deal with as a Christian. Because as a Christian, you're taught that, God already knows what's happening to you in your life. God has a plan for you, that, our lives are basically already mapped out. We're just kind of, that's where the screenplay things come in. Kind of like, everything's been written out and you're just kind of, playing it out as it's supposed to go. I always struggled with that, and to this day I still struggle with that a little bit. Not knowing if my life is going to end on a positive note or a negative note. Whether will I see the light at the end of the tunnel, or has there been an avalanche that closes off the end of the tunnel? So all I'm seeing is darkness. Snuffing the option of if I have a chance to escape this fate. So fate being something that you don't necessarily control, that is just there and it's going to play out how it's supposed to play out. Or is it by choice I walk this road? This wide road, where I have all these options, where I have all these choices, but in my mind I feel like it's enclosed. Where is it by choice I walk this road wide yet enclosed, continuing the progress but feel froze? So that's how I ended this. And the reason that I ended this like this is because, actually ending this song like this was a perfect segue to I Wish You Would Make Me, and kind of going into that world and dealing more with, my Christian roots and my Christian upbringing, and some of my questions about, being a Christian and about life as a Christian and how that would affect my life, why that would be, the path to take rather than another path, so on and so forth. So with this ending, it's kind of open-ended. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I ask a lot of questions at the end. And, as you can see, things played out in a positive way for the most part. And I enjoy doing that as a writer as well. I enjoy reading books that have open-ended, like ideas, open-ended endings that, you kind of, because I used to read create your own adventure stories as a child. And I always loved how, they never necessarily ended. You could always go one way or the other, and even the ending kind of sometimes led you back to the beginning. So I would always, I like to do songs and write stories and things like that kind of have open endings and allow you to interpret and kind of, make your own ideas of where you think the story will go. And as you guys have been following me, a lot of you guys have been following me throughout my career, you see that, the story for the most part right now has, its ups and downs, but for the most part a happy ending. So that's my world, man. I really appreciate you guys checking this out. Let me see, did I miss any questions? Maybe some remix projects from Fire Theft, possible. Let's see. Rajat Chandra. Hey Logic, love from India. What up, India? It's probably super late or super early there. If you have time, can you decipher your verse from Cloud Dead's Apartment A? That one is a hell of a verse. I listen to that song daily. Maybe have Dose One as a guest. That is a thought, man. I think I am going to, throughout doing these, I'm going to start certain verses of mine, especially like feature projects and stuff, kind of have, deep dives into those verses. And as well as, like I said in the beginning, deep diving into verses from other artists and kind of breaking them down as I think they are broken down and what they, what I think they're trying to say. So, yeah, man, that's it. This is my world. You know what I'm saying? I really appreciate you guys checking us out. Celestial Clockwork vinyl is, there's still a few available if you haven't gotten yours yet, but they are running super low. I think we're down to like 40 or 50 left. So if you haven't got it, hit up illogic.bandcamp.com and check that out. Yeah, man, and I look forward to giving you guys some new music. I do have a new project done already that I'm looking to release early next year, probably springtime. It's called The Transition. Really dope, all my production. Yeah, man, so it's super fresh. Looking forward to finishing this up with you guys, and hope y'all join me next week. And let's see, Unicron said, love what you do for hip-hop. Love what you do for your living of hip-hop and your skills. Have so much a brightness for your future, especially as a dope writer and lyricist. Man, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate the love that you guys give me, man. Like, I really, couldn't do this without y'all. So on that note, thank y'all so much for checking me out. And until next week, this is Beats and B-Sides Deep Dive, the Logic, the man here, signing off. Thank y'all so much. Peace.